Hey guys, it's Rolling with Borealis Bushcraft. I'm just out for a hike with the dog, and we just finished up lunch. Some nice deer, small little deer chops. Worked out quite well. Yeah, just stoked up my fire a little bit. Figured I'd stick around. I still got some time before I gotta head back into the city there and pick up the wife and kid at school. But figured I'd do a little DIY kind of video. On the way out, I just had a brain fart, and I used to have a hanging chain that would attach to my cup, but that chain has since, I don't know, got lost or stolen or broken or something. Can't remember what I did with it. So anybody that's ever, as we get into the bushcraft part of things again, anybody that's ever, tried to hold a canteen or a canteen cup or some kind of a metal cup over top of the fire to melt snow and create some water, knows it can be a bit of a daunting task. The hanging chain idea works explicitly well. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna see if we can not make a ultralight kind of version. We got some small little steel snaps. We're gonna see if we can finagle these. There's 2 of them in there. They're on swivels. And we've got some picture hanging cable. So we're gonna see what this does. I think there's more than one in here, so that'll give me a bit of a backup. So we're gonna break into this. And it's the temperature's actually dropping out here, guys, right now, because it's getting a little bit more cumbersome to work barehanded. Okay, so for starters, let's see what we got to work with for cable. Now this cable has like a plastic coating on it, so I'm not entirely sure how well this is gonna work. Oh, it's one big long piece. Sweet. This is just a couple bucks at the hardware store. Just kind of cool. So there's a loop. There's a loop in either end of it, which is swaged, which is kind of nice. Which is actually kind of handy because that gives a bit of an idea as to what you can actually do with this. So, what else did they give me in here? It looks like they gave me a bunch of alligator clips, which I really can't use for anything right now, which is why I bought those clips. So we'll dive into this. 1.25" swivel simplex snap. Simplex meaning simple? I don't know. We'll find it. Oh, blister packs. So much fun. Now, don't drop it and lose it in the snow. One. And 2. All right. Okay, so they do have little swivels, which is kind of interesting. So, I think what we're going to do is we're going to pass. We have a loop on either end. We're going to pass it through. This is where things are going to get tricky. Because you can see here, we kind of want to do a bit of a girth hitch there. Create that loop. Because I kind of want some metal there. Now, we will do the same to the opposite end. This may or may not work, I have no idea. One thing I can tell you, it is definitely light. Okay. A bit of a process to get this to girth hitch through here because the cable's fairly stiff. Alright, so now, ooh, hello. There you have it, pot hanger. Ultralight pot hanger. So the package said 6 feet, so now I have 3 feet that I can loop over top of a tree or a branch or whatever. So, that being said, I'm going to see here what I can do. Give me a minute. I like it. Me likey. Okay, so we found ourselves a stick. I think this will work, guys. Okay, we got our pot full of snow. Now, for those of you who have never melted snow over a fire, it takes some doing. It's always better if you can save a little bit of water from your canteen to add to the bottom so you don't burn your pot. So that's what we're gonna do. I do have water. I don't need water. We're just doing this for demo purposes here. Just a dribble in the bottom. Kind of helps you not burn your pot. I'll get this set up and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I got that set up there by the fire. Now, I'll see if I can do this without dropping the phone, because that would be bad. unhook you from the tree. Grill pods are handy. Alright, so this is what we got going. Super simple. So we've got our just a fork stick resting on the old bench log that was at this site. Okay, so we got our cable that runs, just loops over the stick. You can adjust this height by moving the stick around. Because it's coated in a plastic, I guess to prevent corrosion or whatever, you want to kind of keep it out of the flames a bit. So you just kind of want it by the heat so much. And we'll see if we can, it's kind of hard because I got the camera in reverse image here. There we go. So then you just fill her up. And to add snow, you just make little snowballs and dump them into the cup. So we're gonna make some tea here. And yeah, we'll sort things out. I'm gonna see if I can transfer you guys back to my other log without dropping the phone. This is like complicated. Sometimes guys like to rag on Les Stroud there, but you know, his earlier films, there's no doubt that he went out with no camera crew. It's hard to film stuff. Just ask all the guys from Alone. So yeah. So we only added a little bit of wood to the fire. Nothing crazy here. Move some stuff around so I don't have so much flame. Nope. Just your height. Nothing crazy. The plastic might melt right off of this thing, who knows. But it's a little experiment. Nothing crazy. Yeah. Don't melt the yellow snow, guys. So if this works out well, which I think it will, I really don't care if the plastic melts off of that cable. Just like aircraft type cable, I guess. One, it's a lot lighter than the chain was, considerably, and it wasn't a very heavy chain to begin with. The trouble was always connecting it to the pot, because the holes in the pot are so small. You can modify it, but I never bothered. But yeah, we're just gonna boil up some water. Maybe we'll make up some pine needle tea, spruce needle tea. Actually, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make some hot emergency. That's better. Which is basically packaged pine needle tea. It's vitamin C. It's like 1,000 milligrams. But yeah. So there's no shortage of firewood out here. That is for sure. That is for sure. It is definitely nice to come out and relax. You just feel the stress just gone. And then I gotta get back to Winnipeg and drive in Winnipeg traffic, and all the stress will come back. But for now, there's no stress. So yeah. But yeah. So liking the chest rig so far. I've been wearing it through through lunch and hike in, and it's comfortable, and I think it's going to serve me well for what I want. And yeah, it's modular, so you can add. There's MOLLE on it. You can add pouches if you like. I don't really feel too much of a need. You don't want it too bulky. That was one of the reasons I wanted some type of a light type rig, especially for, you know, as part of my get home bag kit. There may come a time when you want to, you know, discreetly move through an area and not leave too much of a visual footprint. So in terms of like bugging out or extricating yourself through any kind of situation that you don't really want to get caught up in, you want to be the guy that kind of blends into the pack, you know. Hence, oh, black hoodie. Oh gee, everybody's got black hoodies these days, you know. For carpenter pants, hey, who doesn't like wearing carpenter pants? So I mean, you try and blend into your environment, and, you know, as much as you possibly can, which is again why I chose the lightweight setup. One, if I don't need it, it stays in the backpack. Everything that I have on me will fit in that backpack, no problem. I can just put the backpack on and walk wherever I want to go. I just look like another guy with a tan backpack. Yeah, it's a 511 Rush 72, but I picked the Coyote Tan one. Yeah, guys are gonna be, oh, you're in gray, man, you're not blending in, you know, fucking, you're gonna be a heat scorer. Guys that say that, have you ever watched how many people just walk around the frickin' city in fucking camo and tactical shit? There's tons of them. Tons of them. So this whole gray man concept of blending in, yeah, you know what, hey, if I got a tactical back, I'm not gonna wear camo walking through the friggin' city to get out or go through it or whatever. I'm gonna wear, you know, what I would have on me. You know, it's pretty simple. As far as, you know, it's a tan bag. There's tons of tan bags. Christ, companies friggin' are making suitcases and frickin' with MOLLE on them now. It's ridiculous. It just looks like another, you know, high school students are using them for book bags, for God's sake, right? Like, you're not gonna stand out as much as people think you're gonna stand out. You know, sure, if it was, you know, adorned with a whole bunch of pouches on the outside and, you know, first aid kits and mag pouches and a bunch of shit on the outside of the bag that you don't necessarily require, then yeah, you're gonna stick out. But if you keep it slender and slim and, you know, unobtrusive, you'll blend in. You know, you roll up a jacket and stuff it over, loop it through the compression straps on the side. It's gonna take away from that footprint of what it looks like. You know, it's no different than camo, you know, when you're out hunting or for guys that are on deployments and stuff. You just break up your pattern. So now we got some water in there. Got about, I think that's a 500 ml cup, and we probably got about 250, a little less than 250 mLs of water in there right now. Yeah, there's pine needles and stuff in there, whatever, big deal. Not a huge issue. So we're gonna, I'm gonna adjust this. I'll get back to that discussion in a minute. Yeah. I have to move my fire a bit. Which is very easily accomplished. There, well, more better. So, back to the discussion of trying to blend in and move through an area. You know, don't think that you're gonna have to be completely dressed like every other urbanite to move through that area. You don't. The big thing is not drawing attention to yourself, right? Don't avoid any kind of confrontations. Avoid mass groups of people, because in times of crisis, people like to congregate. That's just human nature. Avoid. Typically, if you're moving through a city, a good thing is to have a map, right? If you're new to that area, well, you're going to be hit and miss. But I mean, if you've lived in that area, like I've lived in Winnipeg all my life, I know the shitty ends of town to stay the hell away from. And yeah, if I got to move through that end of town, I'd sooner probably take the extra 3-4 kilometers and go around it, right? Like, the concept is not to get into any kind of an altercation, whether it be verbal or physical. You want to stay out of trouble as much as physically possible. It might take you more time, and you might have to detour, but you know, I think a lot of guys, and I've seen it on a lot of forums and stuff. You know, they'll build these get home bags, and it's huge thing in the States too. Because I mean, you know, with the Second Amendment, you can carry whatever the hell you want within reason, I believe. But and I'm a huge proponent of the Second Amendment. I think that's something that Canada should have done right from its inception. But you know, I think there's a lot of I see the discussions and stuff on some of the survival forums and Facebook forums and stuff, and guys are packing, you know, hundreds of rounds of 9mm and a Glock, and they got AR mags, and they got tons of shit, man, tons and tons of shit. Like, how do you not be a target, right? So, like, how do you just, you know, everybody talks about gray man. How are you supposed to blend in? Let alone, like I mentioned in an earlier video, all this shit weighs. Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain. Like, you got to be able to carry this shit. You know, like, if I can help it, I don't want to have to abandon any of my equipment if I don't have to, right? So with the setup that I have, I think I have 300 rounds of 22 long rifle, and there was a discussion on one Facebook forum page that this girl came up with, that's in the States, and guys are slagging her because they're like, oh, 22 is not gonna be effective for self-defense. Well, it's not great, but guess what? Are you gonna want to continue to fight after being shot with one? I probably don't fucking think so. I sure as hell wouldn't. You know, the overall concept is not to get into a frickin' brawl or a frickin' gunfight. You're trying to get the hell out of Dodge, right? You're not looking for trouble. In my circumstance, for what I do, the rifle's not so much for defense as it is for getting critters, right? I go to work and I get stalled on the way to work, and I gotta spend a couple days out in the middle of the freaking bush. Eventually my food stores will run out if help doesn't come, so I'm gonna have to supplement that with hunting. That's how my kit is set up, right? It's a get home bag. So maybe at some point I might look to upgrade to, you know, maybe something larger caliber. Maybe like 9mm, something like a Kel-Tec Sub 2000, or maybe that Ruger PCC carbine. But again, it's all about weight. You know, do I keep the lower caliber and a slightly heavier rifle, or do I take the lighter rifle with a slightly heavier caliber? The weight's going to end up being about the same. So, and as far as 22 long rifles concerned, there's a lot more that you can do with it, especially within Canada. You can get subsonics, keep your footprint low if you're, you know, in a situation where you need to hunt game covertly. You know, you can get high velocity stuff like the CCI Stingers and the Velocitors, where, you know, you're pushing a 40 grain hollow point at, you know, over 1,400 feet a second. So there's some energy to be had there, you know. But there's the ammunition for 22 long rifle is very varied these days. You can get all kinds. You can get up to 60 grain bullets, which is basically what's shooting out of a 5.56. Standard 5.56 round or 2.23 is 55 grains. So if I can get approaching that bullet weight at close distance, I'm gonna relatively have a similar ballistic effect. Not exact. I'm not saying it's 22 at, you know, 5 yards is going to do the same damage as 5.56 will, but it's going to make an impression, put it that way, right? I mean, we'll do a quick little test here just on this tree. We'll just see, just quickly, just for fun, just for shits and giggles here, how much depth we can get out of this a CCI Stinger at like 2 yards contact distance, just for fun. Okay guys, let me point something out too. In regards to deception, you put a muzzle brake on a 22, it gets freaking louder. So there's good points to that and bad, right? You pull that off, it gets quieter. It's just the nature of 22 long rifle. Okay, so safety off. Danger check. Safety back on. All right. Now, I don't really have a measuring tool aside of the awl on my Leatherman. So I'm going to see how deep that went. Okay, I don't know exactly how deep it went because it went all the way up to here. So that's well over an inch of penetration at 3 yards into the tree. So close range, it's gonna make an impression on whatever the hell you're shooting. I know from experience that hollow points do devastating work on small game. They work wonders. Typically when I go chicken hunting and stuff, I'll try and get headshots, but sometimes you don't. And if you're closer is better because the round's going faster and you do less damage, but it still has enough kinetic energy to drop that bird. You know, same thing if you're hunting, if you have to hunt squirrels or rabbits, right? And at distance, the round is obviously slowing down. It's simple ballistics. And that hollow point will will actually open up and do what it's designed to do at distance as well. So, but yeah. So for what I do, 22 long rifles, quite adequate for what I'm after. Well, looks like I'm getting some steam there. It probably would have boiled by now if I'd have stuck the lid on, but I didn't bother. So anyway, we'll throw this back over there. Stay. So yeah. See if we can't actually get this to boil. Set the pot right onto the coals there and see what's going on. She should come to a boil. But then after I make a little bit of tea, I'll hike my sorry butt back out because I'm old and decrepit. And Sashi looks like he's shivering there a little bit. He was looking at something in the bush, so you know, whatever. But yeah. Oh yeah, boil, no problem, like 2 seconds. I just didn't want to lower it down too far in there to melt my cable there. But I think this little project is turning out pretty good. It's actually working quite good there. It's boiling up real good. Boil time on water, guys. As soon as it comes to a rolling boil, you're good. You're good to go. So yeah, cool. Anyway, ciao for now. Gotta make myself some tea. Cheers.